so this is my dog. He's going to bother me the whole time because he really loves me. Yeah, he's my best friend. And he's a little bit concerned because he's never seen me in a room with so many handsome men before. The rabbi told you about the story of Hanukkah. I'll make it really simple for you. Every Jewish holiday is they tried to kill us, we survived, yet let's eat. Okay? How many of you are Jewish? Raise your hand who's Jewish. You know how we tell if Israeli men are Jewish or not? If men are Jewish or not? Stand up, take the pants down, let's look. I'm going to embarrass Sinai. The worst thing that can ever happen to you is that your mother's crazy friend gets up and tells a story about your penis. I'm sorry, but I was at Sinai's circumcision ceremony.
Sinai is one of our players.
Is he still here? Did he leave? He knew okay. Sinai was there. So usually the circumcision is done to have a big party. But Einab said to me, they're mutilating my son. I'm not going to have them mutilate him and then let's eat. It just doesn't make sense. So I want only you to come, and we'll have the rabbi there. And you and I will sit with the rabbi. And I said, okay, cool. And then the rabbi said we needed to have a bottle of wine. Why do you have to have a bottle of wine at a circumcision ceremony? Because you have to say the blessing on it, and they give the baby a whole lot of wine so it doesn't really hurt. I think it probably hurts anyway, but okay, they get the baby drunk. First time Sinai got drunk, he was 8 days old. So Einab and I and the rabbi drank a bottle of wine because it was there and it was a blessing or a mitzvah or whatever you call it. It's what do you say mitzvah? How do you say mitzvah in English?
Blessing.
Yeah, okay. So we drank this bottle of wine and then we started to tell jokes. At Sinai's wait, at his circumcision. I told the rabbi to keep the tip. And then, what's my next joke? When you're senile and you're doing stand-up, you have a cheat sheet. What else happened there? I told the rabbi that he could put the tip in a wallet. And then I had a great idea. You can take the foreskins of little babies and make them into a wallet. And then it's a real special wallet because when you rub it, it becomes a suitcase. And then this rabbi, after a couple of glasses of wine, said, I have a story to tell you. He said, I do circumcision ceremonies, and I also do weddings, okay? And usually the person who calls the next day is the mom of the kid that I circumcised. And so the next day after I did a circumcision and I did a wedding, the rabbi got a phone call from this young woman, and she said, thank you so much for yesterday. And he said, how is the young man's penis? Oh my God. I'm sorry. You're supposed to laugh at that. Hands don't go over well in this. Okay, different cultures. Different cultures have different ways. And when I moved to Israel from the United States. If you cannot tell, I'm American. I've become more Israeli than American, I think, now. And I think that the big difference is when we went back to the States to visit, I discovered how Israeli I am. But one of the first things that happened to me when I was here in Israel, as a new immigrant, sorry, I'm embarrassing him. He's turning red. So one of the first things that happened to me, I asked friends to explain to me about what happens between men and women in Israel and how I tell if the guy is trying to pick me up or not and that kind of stuff. And this Israeli guy invited me for coffee. if an Israeli guy invites someone over for coffee, he doesn't mean coffee. That's what everybody told me. He invites you over for coffee. There's a famous movie that one of the lines is, "Want to come to my room, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea." You know that. So he invites you over for coffee. It means that he wants some action. And this guy invited me over for coffee, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Okay." And he told me if I'm not home yet, he worked in the fields. Kibbutznik, you know, from a kibbutz. It's a socialist agricultural community. Socialism, what's mine is mine, what's yours is mine, that kind of stuff. So he invited me for coffee, and he said, if I'm not home yet, just go into my room and wait for me. A kibbutz guy's room is a room with a bed. I mean, there's not a whole lot else there. So I went into his room, and I'm waiting for him. He wasn't there yet. And I sat down on the bed. And I'm waiting for him to come, to show up, not to come, to show up. He wasn't there yet. So what I didn't know is that these guys, that when they work in the fields, they get all dirty with mud and stuff and sweat and tears and whatever Israeli guys, they're really smelly. They don't use deodorant. And so what I didn't know is that before they come into their rooms, they get undressed. So I'm sitting on this guy's bed. I didn't even know him, hardly knew him. And he invited me for coffee, so, you know. and he walked in his underwear. And I was like, okay. I knew that coffee meant, you know, but okay. And he said, I just take a shower and I will, I don't think he said comma, but I don't know. So I went into the shower and he took a shower and I'm like all hot and bothered and waiting for him and stuff. And then he got out of the shower and he made me a cup of coffee. And I was so disappointed. I want you to know that that's the guy I married 32 years ago. But wait, he still makes me coffee all of the time, which is a really good thing because it helps me stay awake for the sex. So when I really realized that I had become more Israeli than I am American is when I had kids. And I had to take my kids to meet my parents in the States, okay? So I realized that my kids don't behave like American children. Israelis don't have manners. I don't know if you've met it yet. There's like no such thing as manners. So I said, okay, when I grew up with magic words. Do you know the magic words? Did you grow up with magic words? Please. Yeah, please, thank you, that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, my kids don't know English. They didn't know English because I never wanted to sound like my mother, so I spoke to them only in Hebrew. That's a long story, but it's not by chance that I live 6,000 miles away from my parents. But I decided I'm going to teach my kids the magic words. So I said, okay, follow me, say please. And they said, please. Okay. And I said, good. Say thank you. And they said, thank you. No. They said, thank you. Those Israelis and their tanks. Thank you. Okay, good enough. They'll get the idea. And then I said, excuse me. That was good. And they said, excuse me. No, they said, squeeze me. Okay. No problem. And we got to the States, and my mother said, have your children learned English? And I said, Mom, they don't really know a lot of English, but they know their magic words. And at that moment, my daughter stubbed her toe, and she said, shut. She said, shit, fuck, goddamn son of a bitch. And my mother said, are those the magic words you've been teaching your children? And then we took my kids to my parents' country club. Okay? I'm a nice Jewish American girl. My parents belong to a country club. we took them to a country club, and I explained to them, you have to use your magic words, the real magic words, all the time that we're at the country club. Okay? So there's this waitress carrying a plate of hors d'oeuvres, and my son, who looked kind of like you guys do, he was big in all proportions, and the waitress came and put out the plate of hors d'oeuvres, and my son took it and said, "Thank you." And then they were in line for the buffet, and my kids decided that they could say, squeeze me, and cut in line. And it was amazing. They came up to me after and they said, "Mom, these magic words are really magic. It's a miracle. All you have to do is say, squeeze me, and people let you cut in." I'm like, okay. And then my father came up to me and he said, "Mars, listen, your kids are not behaving properly. We're going to have to leave." And I said, "But Dad, they haven't been in the swimming pool yet. I promised them that they could go to the swimming pool." And he said, "Okay, fine, but one more thing they do wrong, and we're going to have to leave." And I said, "Okay, fine." The kids were in the swimming pool. They were having a great time. And my father came up to me as white as, see, how do you say that in English? Chalk. Sorry. He came to me and he said, "Mars, that's it. You're going." And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Your son peed in the swimming pool." And I said, "Come on, Dad, everybody pees in the swimming pool." And he said, "Yeah, but not from the diving board." But it also worked the other way. When my parents came to Israel, and we went to the wall. Have you had a tour of Israel? Have you seen the holy sites yet?
Not yet.
Wingate.
Okay, not yet. So there's what's called the Western Wall, which is one of the holiest sites in Jerusalem for the Jewish people. And it's just this big rock wall thing, you know, it's rocks on rocks on rocks. But the Jewish people, the religious Jewish people, I guess I'm not really very, very religious, but they pray there. And they write their wishes, their blessings, their prayers on little pieces of paper, and they stuff it in the wall. And then they believe that their prayers are going to go up to heaven, and God is going to read the notes, and make them come true, you know, like the miracles of Hanukkah. So I took my parents to the wall, and my mom was standing there contemplating for the longest time. Now, she's not very religious either. And I thought, wow, this is really weird. My mom is like praying or something. She was looking at the wall and she was thinking, and she came to me and she said, "Mars, I just had an epiphany." Do you guys know what an epiphany is?
Yes.
Rugby players.
Vision.
Yes. Okay. I just had an epiphany. Living with your father, I've been talking to a wall for years. But I never thought to write a note and shove it in. She said, "I want to take some of these Jerusalem stones home and build a wall for your father. And I can write notes and shove them in. And then maybe by some miracle, the things that I want from him will actually happen." And I said, "Mom, you cannot take Jerusalem stone home on the plane." And she said, "Why not?" She said, "They sold me holy water in the Galilee. They sold me magical mud in the Dead Sea." Have you heard of Dead Sea mud? You're going to have to rub it on your bodies. It's magical. It has minerals and stuff. Why can't I take some of these Jerusalem stones home? Now, when you're dealing with my mother, when she's being irrational, you have to think like she does. So I said, if you try to take even one Jerusalem stone home on the plane, you will have to pay for being overweight. Using the word pay and the word overweight in the same sentence convinced her. So yeah, there are a lot of differences between us. And when you're here in Israel, you're going to see that Israelis behave kind of weird. Anybody ski? Winter, snow, downhill ski? Have you ever skied? In Africa, you don't have skis. So they ski like they drive. They don't know how to stop, and they go to the top of the hill, and they just yell all the way down, "Look out!" That's the way they drive here, too. Yeah, you have to learn the mentality. Have you ever heard that an Israeli-born person is called a sabra? Do you know what the sabra plant is? Have you heard of the sabra plant? The sabra fruit, have you heard of a sabra fruit? It's a prickly pear, and it's called sabra. And why are Israelis called sabras? Because they're prickly on the outside, but they're really sweet on the inside. So give them some time, you'll get used to them. They're kind of prickly, but once you get to know the inside, they're really, really good people. And don't expect manners. And welcome to Israel, and I hope it works well for you.